CHATS with Frank Palmer, the marketing, media, and communications talk show. With Denise Rossetto and Todd Mackie. Presented by LifeWorks. Thank you to all our sponsors.
Welcome, Todd and Denise. Today I've got some special guests. As I said, Todd and Denise, I'm basically talking to the Sonny and Cher, the Barbie and Ken, the Mickey and Minnie, Adam and Eve, or maybe the best comparison is Romeo and Juliet. My guests today are Denise Rossetto and Rossetto, I should say, and Todd Mackie, and both of them share the same creative titles, and both of them are two partners in the recently formed advertising agency called Broken Hearts Love Affair. I'm not sure if Denise and Todd are fans of Romeo and Juliet, but they've been a co-creative team for many years, and that romance has definitely lasted. But today we're going to find out, hopefully find out the why and the what is their secret sauce. And does their chemistry ever come under fire? And do they really have a love affair that makes for hotter creative? But first, I'm going to welcome them to the show. And I'm going to give you both a short introduction to their backgrounds, and then I'll get into the questions. So does that work for you too?
Sounds good.
All good. All good. I don't recognize Todd. He didn't have a hat on.
Oh, I can get one.
Todd Mackie. He has a famous story about a 7-pound smallmouth bass, and I'm going to ask him later about that story, and maybe it was really a 70-pound salmon for all we know. Both Todd and Denise were really creative superstars at DDB when I was there, and they produced some of the best and really good creative. And I was truly sad to see them leave after being there for about 10 years. Todd has been one of Canada's top ranked creative directors. After DDB, he spent 10 years, or 5 years, I should say, as a co-creative director officer at BBDO. He has won the Grand Prix Award for the most effective campaign in the country twice and topped the Cassie's Effectiveness Award Index. At DDB, he garnered 4 Strategy Agency of the Year titles. Creatively, he has won every national, international award show, including in one show, Clio's, London International Communication Arts, D and AD, and several Cannes Lions, and also managed to do some work for a variety of big brands, including Pepsi, Wiggly, Nike, Johnson & Johnson, Mars, Subaru, Bell, Rogers, the Canadian Cancer Society, RBC, and most recently the Paralympics and the Right to Play. And Todd has also been an award judge for the Lisbon Ad Festival, the Bessies, Applied Arts, the CMAs, and the Marketing Awards. Boy, I'm telling you, that's quite a list already, and I got to go through Denise's now. Yeah. Denise is also recognized as one of Canada's top creative directors and again ranked in the top 5 in the Strategy Agency Creative Report Card. Her work has been recognized in every national and international award show for clients such as FedEx, Pepsi, Wiggly, Nike, Johnson & Johnson, Labatt Breweries, Mars, Subaru, Rogers, the Canadian Cancer Society, RBC, and most recently the Paralympics and Right to Play. She has also won the Grand Prix Award of the most effective campaign in the country twice and topped the Cassie's Effectiveness Index. Before coming the Chief Creative Officer, Denise was constantly ranked the top writer in Canada, and most recently she was awarded with a Cannes Lion for work on Parkscapes for Regency Park School of Music, as well as for her contribution to Kruger's Unapologetically Human campaign, and I will play one of those commercials, one of this down the road. Both Todd and Denise founded Broken Heart Love Affair, along with a number of agency superstars. So are you two ready to start after all of that? Because that probably took up a lot of time.
We're done, right? We're over.
So let's chat a little bit about you guys, and I'd like to know where you were born and what city and what kind of education you got, and when you decided that you wanted to get into this crazy field of advertising. Who wants to go first?
Ladies first, Denise. Ladies.
I was born at Mount Sinai in Toronto. So just down the road from where I live right now. So I didn't venture very far. And I went to school for political science. And of course, could not get a job with that degree. There was nothing I could do. So I went home and basically just hung around my parents' house for a really long time, got a job as a flight attendant for one day. But I'm terrified of flying. So I quit the very first day. And then I was kind of doing nothing. And my mom found an article in the newspaper for Humber College copywriting course. And she said, "You've always loved writing. Why don't you do this?" I think she was trying to get me out of the house. And I was hooked as soon as I went to Humber College to take copywriting. I was like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. I didn't even know it was a job. I think I saw maybe an episode of Bewitched where one of the characters was in advertising, but I didn't.
Rubbing the nose a little bit there.
Yeah. Do you remember on Bewitched, there was the one guy who worked in advertising. I think just had a lamp hit me in the head.
Well, that was all planned. That was all planned.
I almost died on this podcast. I survived. Anyway, so I didn't even know advertising. I don't know. Did you guys know advertising was even a job? I didn't know.
Well, I wanted to be an artist or a police officer or a wrestler. So I ended up.
Of course. Those all make sense, Frank.
All very similar.
A lot of good sense. I mean, what about you, Todd? How did you go to school in Toronto also? And
No, I'm an Oshawa kid, born and raised, and you either had your sights set on being the next GM worker or you wanted to get out. And I was one of those guys that when I was pretty young, grade 11, I knew what I wanted to do. My mom watched this show that most people haven't heard of called 30 something. So I did know advertising existed because of that. And I was watching these two guys sit around and shoot hoops in their room, and they didn't have to wear suits. And I'm like, I could do that. That looks like a career that I could do. And it just so happened that I knew someone that was taking a graphic design course at Durham College in Oshawa. And he's like, yeah, it's the best. They got the best Macs. You should just go take that. So right from sort of grade 11 on, I knew what I wanted to do. While the rest of my friends were trying to figure out their lives, I was like, because I knew where I wanted to head. I didn't know how tough it was going to be. I heard it wasn't a 9-to-5 job. You could wear a baseball cap. And the baseball cap part was right. The 9-to-5 part was a little wrong because I think it was about from 9 to 9 you end up working.
Kind of like this. I've never,
Good.
like a baseball. Solicitous, yeah, that's my name, solicitous. So I go out and solicit business.
I've never seen you in a hat, Frank.
I wear one from time to time.
It looks good.
So, what was your first job, Denise? You wanted not the first job in advertising, not as a flight attendant, but you would have probably made a good flight attendant.
Oh no! Well, I have an anxiety attack every second. I only wanted to work at taxi, Frank, when I started. So when I was in Humber College, I kept my eyes on all the agencies, and I don't know what it was. I was just super attracted to taxi. I'm like,
Bob, maybe you're in Paul's got the same haircut as Todd.
I know. Maybe it's only bald people.
Or was it Jane? Was it Jane that attracted his wife?
It was the whole agency, the whole philosophy. And then I really wanted to work for Judy. I just thought she was doing the best work. And I thought she's a woman in advertising and she's so awesome. And so I managed to get my book in front of her, and
Judy John.
Yeah. Judy John. And I still to this day have copies of what she wrote about my portfolio. She told me not to use as many puns. And, but she liked my long copy. And so she hired me right away. Wow. And that was a start of my career and an amazing friendship as well, and a mentorship.
Well, that's great. And Todd, where did you get your first job?
So the third year of advertising in Durham College, I got placed at Cassette Communication.
Yeah, good job.
It was at 931 Yonge Street at that place at that time. I think it was around 90 people. I think they'd just come off winning Agency of the Year. So this is going way back. But yeah, I basically got a placement there, and then I got offered. Jack Neary offered my first job on my birthday, I think when I turned 22.
Wow, Jack Neary, there's another great name.
Yeah, and so I stayed there for 10 years. I stayed at that, which is very unusual for a creative. My first partner was Randy Stein, who you know very well.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it was that was the beginning.
When you start talking about what you guys are just brought up now, and you start those names, they're also familiar, and they're still also working in the business. Well, Paul now is making designer surfboards, so to speak, and they look beautiful. And you'd have to sort of make a lot of money to buy one, of course, but they're very beautiful. And I'm going to be interviewing Paul in the next short while. How did you guys actually meet and where? I mean, it's and you've stayed together so long. I mean, you know, we're going to get into that. Do you have a love affair with each other or something?
These are some painful stories you're going to ask here, Frank, because I refused. I did not allow Denise to come to my wedding because I didn't know her that well then. My wife's like, you got to meet this writer I work with. She's amazing. I want her to come to our wedding, but we just finished the seating plan. And I'm like, I'm not doing the seating plan again. I knew who she was, but I'm like, she can't come. I think 3 months later, 6 months later, we were working together.
Yeah, I tried. You know, it's funny. I was at Leo Burnett. I was the opposite of Todd. I moved around everywhere. I worked at Leo and Ogilvy and Emirati. And when I was at Leo, I asked Todd to come and be my partner because the partner I was with at the time went on to become a director, David Popescu. And Todd said no. So, but luckily I don't hold a lot of people said no. I can name them all.
Really?
Nobody wanted to work with me, Frank. I don't know why.
Well, well, it's interesting. I was just wondering if there's any traits that you kind of deplore in each other, or is there any qualities that you love about each other, you know?
Oh, that's a big question.
I love Todd's ability to, I don't know, I feel calm. I feel like really calm when we work because I'm kind of crazy, and he brings me a calmness that allows us to be super creative and not to let things get out of perspective. Yeah. And he's super creative outside of advertising. Although Todd's a great art director, I really think he's got a writer's mind. So it's interesting. I like his writing probably as much, more than mine a lot of the time. So,
Todd, is this the first time you've heard this?
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting emotional, Frank. I'm getting emotional.
What is it that you like about Denise, if anything at all? I mean, it's kind of nice now you're bringing this heartfelt out.
Yeah. I'll try not to cry. No, she's by far the most talented writer I've met in the business. And she doesn't even know how talented she is. Everybody who meets her is like, oh my God, she's so good. And it comes out of her so easily. When she finds the idea and it puts it on paper, then a number of times in my career, I've just read it and gone like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like that's amazing. And then it's just tweaks, but she calls herself crazy, but it's the crazy that's the brilliance. And I don't know, we've just been a good yin yang. I think we like the same kind of ideas, but we plus them in different ways. She's got a different talent than I do. I'm probably a little bit too logical, and she's a bit more magical.
I have a little clip here I want you to see. Will you play this little clip for me?
Oh my God.
TELUS came out with a heartwarming ad this holiday season, bravely suggesting that we put down our devices. It's a message that I think we should probably have that connection all year.
Great. That's sweet.
Well, it's obvious that you guys have a lot of fun with each other, and I thought maybe after all those things that I called you earlier, the Romeo and Juliet, you're more like the Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz from the I Love Lucy show. You know, you guys just seem to, you just seem to match each other without even trying. It's a relationship that, is it because you leave each other at the end of the day, or does it,
we don't socialize really outside of work, oddly.
No, I've had to turn off her messages so that I no longer get notifications after 7 p.m. because if she has an idea late, she will
ping you. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, because ideas can come. I know myself when I'm listening to somebody and they say something, like, I wish I had a pen to write that down before I forget it, you know, because it made such good sense. You guys, you know, one of the things that I wanted to, there hasn't been that many female directors, and I know that having a male-female team is probably more common than it is, maybe not, but I know some very successful creative women that I've worked with who are creative directors, and like Christina Yu,
Yeah.
and Eve Barb Williams and Eva Polis now, and Katie, who works for us, and Judy John, we mentioned earlier, and Jenny Clover and Cher Campbell, but they work independently. But do they have male partners, or do they have other female partners? Do you know?
I don't, gosh, I'm trying to think who their partners are.
But there hasn't been, I'm going to say, that many, very few women successful creative teams. I kind of wonder why that is.
That's a great question, Frank. I hadn't even thought about that. I don't know. There's gotta be. But you know, when you're trying to think about something at the time, and then it's like, what's your favorite movie? You can't think. There's gotta be. There's other ones, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I was questioning that. One of the questions is that you see more male, female-led creative teams. It seems to me that should be more of them in many cases. And you talked about that, is that women drive 80% or 70% of the, except for me, I like to purchase stuff online. But is advertising in your mind still a boys' club? Because, I know that you've probably seen Mad Men, and of course, that's the period that I wasn't quite at the beginning, but I was somewhat after that. But I enjoyed that show because everybody wore suits and ties, and back then, I used to wear a suit and tie. And actually, I have pajamas on under this coat today, so I don't have to wear, But most of the people that were men. They were the account people, account service people, and the creative folks. But that's changed. I mean, up until a few years ago, every one of our offices were led by women presidents. Mm-hmm. And yeah. I preferred it. But I have a little video here of you talking about that, Denise. So I'm going to play that video here.
Digging stuff up, Frank.
Yeah, well, I did my homework.
Toronto-based Denise Rossetto worked on this Right to Play campaign and several others you might recognize.
Today, we actually charge based on your gender now.
As Rossetto cut her teeth in the business, she relied on female mentors, as well as her own instincts, to carve out a path in the world of the male-dominated advertising industry.
In the beginning, I would walk into a boardroom, and especially if it was something like a car account or a beer account, and I would be the only female voice in the room.
The 3% movement cites a study from the late 2000s, which suggests while women were responsible for 80% of consumer transactions, only 3% of creative directors in the United States at the time were female. Rossetto says she has since seen some changes in the industry, but there is room for improvement. For her, it's simple. Everyone at the table needs to be equally represented.
It elevates creativity, it elevates our clients' business results and effectiveness, and it's also the right thing to do. I can think of Nike, I can think of Throw Like a Girl, I can think of all these amazing campaigns that without women in this industry, we would have been stuck in the 1950s.
Looking ahead, the goal is to keep that momentum going, so the next generation has more than enough room for their voices to be heard and respected.
We rise.
I'm really proud of the women that I know in the business who are really working hard for the women coming up.
Catherine Ward, Global News.
Remember doing that?
Yeah, I still don't know why I wore a coat and a hat inside that.
Well, most of the videos that I found of you guys, if you're wearing a toque or you're wearing a hat, and today you're not wearing a hat or a toque. But yeah. Do you think that both of you, that maybe that's why the 3% movement was created? I mean, I know that you probably know that DDB was I actually brought that 3% movement to Canada. And hopefully that it's still going strong, because I don't think there is enough women in the business that are creative directors. Whedon and Kennedy do. They have a strong, very dynamic lady there called Susan Hoffman. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know that. I don't know her. I looked that up. But do you think that maybe one of the reasons that they're successful is, I don't want to put men down, but they obviously have a strong women's creative director there? Mm-hmm.
I think their work is great. And I think Colleen, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Colleen Dorsey is there too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Yeah, I think the more women we have in the business, the more I think the work just keeps getting better and better. And the more people that can be represented in all the work, I think the work just gets better. It gets deeper, it gets more insightful, it connects with more people. I always, I did feel a lot of support, Frank. I felt a lot of support at DDB. I felt a lot of support from a lot of my mentors in the business. Like Judy, I thought Andrew Simon was really incredible to me after I had twin boys while I was at DDB. They broke a few things there, Frank.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I brought them in and they broke things, but
I think we still have an invoice that you haven't paid yet.
Well, we'll get to that. But I mean, after having kids, I remember saying to Andrew that I really needed to figure out my schedule. It needed to be more flexible. And he was amazing. And it's things like that are just so helpful.
What do you think, Todd?
I think when I first started out, I felt like there was a lot of the work that I liked from I think it was from Fruit of the Loom was Elizabeth and Lorraine, and there was Judy John and Christina Yu, and I felt like there was a nice era of women leading great creative in Toronto and in Canada. And I don't know if it's changed dramatically or not, but I feel like Denise and I, it's something we've always kept an eye on, no matter where we were. We're like, okay, how diverse is our department? Because you get different voices if the diversity is there. Yeah. You have more intelligent conversations and deeper conversations. So it's something even now as we're growing Broken Heart Love Affair, our hires, we need excellent creatives, but we also need diversity. So that's why as we grow, we'll just keep a hard eye on that, because I think it'll change the work dramatically, I think.
What made you now, after such a successful career at leave the safety of BBDO and launch an advertising agency during a pandemic? I mean, what gave you that courage to do that?
Well, every Harvard business book says wait for a pandemic to launch. Right?
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, once that chapter happened. No, actually, it was. I actually thought I was going to finish my career probably at BBDO. As I'd spent a long time at Cassette, I spent a long time at DDB. BBDO was going well at that point, and I think I thought we would end there. But when Jay and Carlos approached us with this idea of starting our own agency, we started talking about the reasons why we got into advertising in the first place, and it was to create, exciting brands, like to do the next just do it campaign, or the next think different campaign. That's why I got into it. I wanted to create these incredible brands. So we were all like looking at ourselves going, we're just administrators. We're like, we're air traffic controllers for like 30 different creatives, and we're just trying to somehow get good work out of these these layered systems of these multinational agencies. It was getting harder and harder, it seemed, every year. And so this opportunity came up, and we're like, maybe this could work. Like, maybe if we got back to why we got into this business and wanted people to fall in love with brands again, I don't know. We were like, maybe we can actually make this work if it's the five of us. I was still scared to death, and my wife tried to talk me out of it a few times.
I often remember, and I don't know if I'm going to ask this again earlier, but I often remember Paul Lavos saying he didn't want to get too big before he got bad.
Yeah.
And Carlos used to work for me also, if you remember, at Downtown Partners, and they did some great work there, and then they left to do other work for other agencies. And I even now find how big do you want to get before you have to start doing all this layering of trafficking and everything. And so I just wonder, and then it's just a different world. I mean, you get successful, and you add people, and you add people, and you add people, and then what happens is you start doing stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff you want to do.
You're probably not there yet. But I'm just wondering, if you're continue to be such a success as you are, because you've actually got a lot of new business and a lot of clients out there in a very short period of time. But both of you at the same time have been very big supporters of NABs. And of course, this whole series of these events is to try and raise the awareness for NABs. And one of the things that I tried to do many years ago was to get, out of your paycheck, $5 a month would go to nabs. It's never happened. I wish it could still happen, but I know you're big supporters, and I do have a little video here that I'm going to play. And then I'm apologize. It's Denise again, but I do have another video of you, Todd, coming up. So,
oh no.
But let's play that little video of nabs. So.
Hi, I'm Denise Rossetto. I'm the chair of nabs, and I'd love to be able to sit down and talk to you in person about all the amazing things that nabs is doing for people right now. But obviously, because of the situation, I'm coming to you from my son's room. And I think as somebody in the industry who understands the pressures of the industry, who understands how important it is to put people first, also as a parent living through these times and understanding the demands on the people in our industry, I thought it was really important that I be able to talk to you about the great things that nabs is doing to help people during these times when we may not even know what some of our people are going through and how much they actually need the services that nabs is providing. And I think it's really important that as we remember to put people first, that we help out as much as we can, as much as possible during nabs month. We are trying to raise $200,000. And I think we're in an incredible industry. We have incredible people. And it's really important that we take care of each other, especially in times like this, where the pressures and the demands are higher than ever, and people are using nabs more than ever, and we want to be there for them, and we want to continue to be there for them. And I hope you, as a fellow industry leader, will join us in being able to help nabs out and help our people out and to put people first. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to when I'm able to speak to you in person. Take care. Thank you.
Notice you're wearing a hat again.
Mm. We got to restart this whole interview, Frank.
I know. I'll put my hat back on again. Well, we really appreciate. Todd, you said that I remember reading this in an article that you were told to dream crazy, and it was about time that we did. You said obviously you made the correct move and you weren't crazy, but why didn't you do it maybe years earlier? Was it just the time? Was it timing?
I think it was the support that we got from the 5 partners. I mean, obviously, Denise and I, you have each other's backs, but to have like Carlos, I've been chasing that guy's career my entire life. Like he's every year on the report card, he was ahead of me. So I admired the work that I'd seen him do forever. Jay Chaney's like probably the greatest strategist I've ever chatted with. So I think it's funny. We started talking about opening this, and then we were introduced to Bev Hammond, who is an excellent, like the best business person I think I've met. She's just so smart on how to actually run a company, which no creative person really knows how to run a company. So we needed that side of the coin. And I think it felt like you think we're starting with a stacked deck, like, hey, these guys are going to just take off. And then the pandemic hit. And the truth is, I still think, even with the 5 of us, I was still going, really, can we do this? Like, will we even, get one client? I think we all still have a healthy dose of humility to kind of think, yeah, it might not work. So we just knew we had to hit the ground running pretty hard. The reason why I didn't do it earlier, I had seen my wife start companies. She started 2 or 3 different agencies. She started Doug Agency, which is one agency we did a quick stint at. And I knew how much hard work it was. So they started from scratch. We at least acquired Republic from Bev. So we had a 9-10 person agency to start with. So that was a lot more reassuring for me than starting from just the 5 of us with a notepad.
I have a picture here that I'm going to put up on the screen here to ask you if this is the way you guys work. You want to put that on the screen for me? This is the way you guys work all the time. I mean, you're sitting around with your books and laying on the, you even got a dog in the picture just to make everybody feel good with you guys. Oh, you support the dog industry too, right?
Well, Frank, most of us, so you would know if we work like that. Jay, Carlos, us.
I know. I mean, it was interesting. I had a call from Dom a week ago, and his daughter's in Vancouver. So we interviewed her, Sabine.
Yep.
And she's looking for a job in Vancouver. And I said, is it because your parents just want to get you out of the house and get you to Vancouver? Or is it, are you actually looking for it? Well, my parents don't want me to leave, but, you know, I want to get to Vancouver. So it was kind of nice. He's a great guy and a great boss. And now he's left BBDO. I mean, you did some really great work while you were there, winning silver and bronze, but I guess you're still waiting for that gold one, I guess. Yeah.
I wish I'd gotten gold there. Yeah.
Well, Todd, you while you were there, you did some work for the 2018 Canadian Paralympic Committee, and the campaign was called "Greatness is Rare." And I thought this one part got me a little bit emotional because I had done a fair amount of work for BC Special Olympics. In fact, I was one of the guys that got it started here in British Columbia with Tiger Williams, if you remember, not Tiger Williams, Tiger, I can't remember Tiger's last name, but Tiger, what used to play hockey for the Vancouver Canucks. But when I got to see those Special Olympics athletes, you know, win or run, and they would try so hard, and the emotional effect for me just got to me. So I was just wondering that you said for every athlete to be recognized, their country's most elite is very rare. But these athletes have achieved is very rare, very special, something you should go on celebrated. I'll ask you a few questions about that, but let's play that commercial, please. How was it working with athletes on that? I would have thought that it would be very emotional.
Yeah, I think it hugely is. I think we'd worked with Paralympics for a few years, and what was really interesting to me about this year, and Greatness is Rare, is that mathematically it is so rare to see someone win a gold medal who's had to endure something. But the bigger problem that we established with this campaign was that the coverage just wasn't there from the networks. And what we needed to do was inspire people to watch and tune in, but we really wanted to find a way to get around this problem that it just wasn't being broadcast. Like, it deserves to be seen. These athletes work so hard to represent their country, and then there's no place to watch it. So the Facebook iteration of this, where we actually allowed fans of the sport to live stream any event, is what really blew up for that campaign and gave the athletes the ability to be seen and their talents to be seen. So that was hugely emotional for how successful that was. And I think even globally, the Paralympic Committee globally said this is like a new standard. We need to fix broadcasting. And after that, it was very emotional.
Did it enter any award shows and win?
Yeah, you have a better brain for this, Denise.
I think it won something everywhere, Frank. Like, I think the Paralympic Network that was part of this campaign, I think won everywhere, I think.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I really great work, and it caught me because I hadn't quite seen it myself. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys, you've worked for Cassette, you've worked for BBDO, you've worked for DDB, you worked for Doug & Co., or at least somebody did. What was your biggest learning? And I could probably answer this for you. Working for these large holdcos, which are definitely having their struggles today, and the difference between working for them and working for like a Doug and Serge, as an example. What is the biggest difference between the two that you could sort of tell us?
Well, it's funny, Frank, and you'll probably, Todd and I had talked about this before. When we were at DDB, it didn't quite feel like a network yet to us. Like, there was still a lot of
Palmer Jarvis left in it.
It felt very entrepreneurial, and it still felt like we're going to do some great shit here.
Well, it was still called Palmer Jarvis DDB, and of course, it might have changed when we dropped the Palmer Jarvis.
Yeah. but I don't think I felt the effects of a network while we were at DDB. Well, maybe you hid that from us and all the people there. So we were still kind of feeling like we could do anything, and maybe we couldn't, but you made us feel like we could. And then when we got to BBDO, we started to feel also great agency, loved it. Dom, obviously, an amazing person to work for, an amazing president. But we started feeling being part of a network a lot more than we did when we were at DDB. And some of the constraints and restrictions and just not being able to do some of the things we wanted to be able to do. And I think when we got a taste of an independent when we went to Doug and Serge for that year, and we realized, if you meet a great talent, you can just hire them because it's your decision to make, or what you want to do for clients. The true partnership you want to have is what you want to say to clients, isn't necessarily what a whole network wants you to say to a client. It just felt like more freedom. And when you start to create momentum, you can feel it. You can actually feel the momentum building quicker, where at the networks, where at our last little bit at a network, you feel like you're trying to maintain. And sometimes there's fear built into that. And sometimes you're making decisions built on that versus what you really feel is the best thing to do. And you would know that.
Well, it seems like like companies like No Fixed Address and 123 West and Rethink and Zach, and I mean, those companies they seem to be doing well and they remaining independent. What do you think, Todd? Is that is because they have more freedom?
I think you can just build a better team. I think you can react way faster. And I love the networks. I always hated network bashing, but I don't think it's really until now, building Broken Heart Love Affair, that I really see where the problems lie. And it is in the paperwork and the layers and like Denise said, I can't just go hire whoever I want. I've got to, fill out some forms and figure out an argument for why they deserve to be in a creative department when you're at a multinational. And I think, I think the talent also, wants to be paid fairly. And I feel like the independents can pay better than the multinationals because the screws are just tightened every year. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. And if you're shrinking, the screws get tightened faster. And then, you can only reward very few.
I think maybe that if you're an independent, the choice is what percentage of profit you want to make. And I think that what happens sometimes is that if you run a company on percentages where your overhead has to be 55% or whatever it happens to be, then you don't have the opportunity to be able to increase salaries so you want, because the bottom line is changing and they don't want the bottom line to change. But that's probably because they have to report on the public, but why I'm going to ask you where the name came about, because there's a lot of agencies now, like all of a sudden there's a new agency called the Angry Butterfly. I mean, as you know, and you guys came up with Broken Hearts Love Affair. How did that name come about?
Well, that was Jay. So when Jay had already had it written down, and when he was talking to us, he's like, yeah, this is the name. And I was like, oh, I hate that name.
Yeah, we were both like, I
don't know. And we came up with more and more names, and we kept talking about them. And really, Jay wanted a name with a meaning, and I totally understand the meaning and get the meaning and bought into the meaning, and then ended up writing a love letter to the industry about the meaning of that name. And what I also love about the name now is I understand as clients what it feels like to be uncomfortable at times with things. And the most important thing is that you do feel something. And I felt something for that name when I first heard it. I felt like I didn't like it, but I felt something. And so that's what we're all about, is just making sure that we feel something. And that's why I can talk to clients a lot and say, I understand what it's like taking a risk. I opened a company during a pandemic. So if you think you're afraid, think of how afraid we were. Or, I know what it's like not to like something, but maybe it's the right thing to do.
I think that if I had to start all over again, rather than calling the agency we did using our names, I might call it, they might call herself the Ricky Gervais agency, because he always came on stage and said, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, if you don't accept my creative, I don't care. And so for me, we did talk about what you guys agree or disagree, but one of the strengths that I know that Todd has that he probably doesn't want me to share is that he loves to dance. Let's play this little video.
Oh no.
I think we should see that again. It was too short.
Yeah.
The moves are so fast and subtle. It's hard to really appreciate how complex this is, Frank, but there's athleticism that's happening there that you can't quite comprehend.
Do you think that you were doing your Rocky Balboa there? Is that when you're on the top of the stairs?
A lot of characters.
You didn't know that you had. I don't think the people who are going to be watching this that knows that he has this talent.
Got many talents.
You think Dancing with the Stars is going to call me right now?
Yeah, you're going to be on Dancing with the Stars before too long. Yeah, you got the call already. Do you think that because of this situation that working from home, and the jury's out whether going back to the office or not going back to the office, we've got, we're trying to figure out what to do and not force people into feeling that they got to be coming to the office so they don't feel healthy, or the people aren't like the restaurants, you got to have your little thing to get in. But do you think clients are getting better work because of the way you're working now, or do you want to get back to the office and or not? What do you think?
I don't know if they're getting if they're getting better work from us not being in the office. Is that the question?
Yeah.
I think we should go back to the office. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just wondering, because it's, for me, I just feel that culture comes from working at the office and having people work at the office as a team. How did this spot come about called Unwreck the Future? I'm going to play that spot right now.
Hello. Today is August 4th of the year 2021 on planet Earth, located here in the Milky Way galaxy. If you are receiving this transmission, we need your help. The humans of Earth are on the brink of destroying their own planet, and our leaders refuse to take action. So we have taken it upon ourselves to put out the call for help. We've clung to inferior fuel sources, sea levels are rising, and our oceans are full of garbage. Like, really full. We tried an annual Earth Day, but that didn't work. There are still 364 other days for polluting. If it isn't obvious by now, our situation is dire. But despite all these flaws, Earth is still a pretty great place, and it deserves to be saved. So please, help us unwreck the future.
Great spot. How did that come about?
Well, that's an amazing client, Frank. So Made Good is they are a truly purposeful brand. Like, they started from this whole philosophy of win-win, the farmers they work with, the families they want to feed. So we worked with them. I think we pitched them last year and then worked with them for the last year, just really figuring out who they wanted to be and what they wanted to be. And they have a very clear sense of who they are and what they want to be, and a really strong purpose. And then just working on them for a while and understanding what they wanted to say and what they wanted to stand for. This was really them. This really feels like who they are. And they've created the creative team. We work as a whole. So there's like Carlos and Todd and I and Jay, but there's also Spencer and Jordan, who are an amazingly talented team. And just working closely with this client and realizing this was the right thing to do. And this is going to be their brand platform. They've created an unwrecking crew of kids that are going to have ideas to help solve the problems of the world, which we need now more than ever.
I found it so much different because one of the things that happened during the pandemic is just about every single company that I saw, the messages were interchangeable.
I know.
And I got to the point that I didn't want to watch them anymore because they were all saying the same thing. I just wonder whether or not COVID has made brands more aware of their messaging.
Well, you know what? It was really when COVID started, it was interesting how many people and brands contacted us because they realized they wanted to say something, but they didn't know what to say because they hadn't created a brand. So they were all like, we don't know what to say because we don't know what our voice is, what our tone is. So it was kind of an interesting time for them to realize, you know, they had kind of moved away from building brands and were just doing more sort of, you know, just sell without creating that brand behind it. And I think COVID has made a lot of brands realize that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Todd. You said that all you fundamentally agree that the future is going to be creativity and the future battleground will be brand creativity, which is kind of a really good statement. I mean, that a lot of brands don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And then when they had to say, we want you to be safe and everything, it was like,
why?
No, how do I feel? You're selling me some product and it has nothing to do with anything. Mm-hmm. You're trying to make me feel like you really care. And you just came across as just the opposite to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was heartbreaking when you saw that. You probably saw the video that everyone saw where it was a mishmash put together of all of the different commercials and they had such similar music and such similar dialogue. And I think it was kind of, that's the broken heart part of our name, really. Like, I hate seeing clients misspend their money. I hate when they think they want to go in this direction. We're like, please listen to us. We know what we're doing. And I think the whole broken heart love affair thing is, we know what great advertising can do for a brand. We know what great messaging can do. If you can make an honest, sincere connection with the consumer that's genuine to your brand and your product, then that's way better than trying to trick someone into coming into your office for a free iPad. Like, hurry in and I'll give you an iPad. Like, right. Then you just become a company built on offers and sales and stuff like that. Versus, and this is a huge part of what made good the Unwrecking crew, is they care about the planet. And it's in their DNA. They care about the people, they care about the planet. And that's why that platform makes sense for them, So the whole reason we started Broken Heart Love Affair was to get back to doing that kind of work that puts meaning and emotion and feeling back into brands, because that's what we connect with each other as humans and with the brands that we allow into our lives.
Where do you think the Canadian ad agencies rank in creativity today? Do you think the independents are probably doing some of the best?
I think so. Go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in general, I'm really proud of the Canadian ad industry. I think we do some of the best work in the world. But I think the independents do amazing work. Yeah.
I know we talked a little bit about Paul Laval, and you said you went to work for him at one point in time. And I remember Paul as a very good friend, and I still talk to Paul. In fact, as I said, he's going to be on an interview. How big do you want to get?
That's a great question.
Is it a good question for you guys? Because
I love what you said earlier. You know, I think it was a Paul quote about, you don't want to get too big and get bad. And, these are the discussions we've had at Broken Heart Love Affair, which is, at some point, our theory of we just only want to hire top talented senior people is going to stop. Like, we're going to run out of people. There won't be enough of them, because there's only so much talent to go around. But then it's like, do you cap at a certain size and then just open in other markets? I don't think any of us want to, be 400 person agency or something like that. It feels like it'll get out of control. Right now, it's lovely what we have. We can control everything, and the quality of the work that we can do is amazing. And we're about 25 people, but we feel like we're doing the work of about 50 people. But it's good because the energy's there and we're all pointing in the same direction. So
I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get too big.
Yeah, I agree with you, because sometimes you have no choice but to get a little bit bigger. If you pick up a client and the client wants you to do certain things, you got to add on. And I think the same question for me. And maybe after 50 years of being in this business, I might have learned something, but maybe I haven't. Who is your ideal client and why?
Oh, that's a good question.
Maybe you have one or two already.
I think we do. I think honestly, in this last year, I think we've attracted amazing people. And I really, really love inspiring people and people who truly understand creativity and what it can do for them, for their sales and people who are willing to take that leap. We always say we want to work with brands who aspire to be number one, because people say it, Frank, but not everybody actually really wants to do it. And you can tell when you're in the room with people who really want to do it. And I also, for me personally, it matters. I really want to be proud of the accounts I work on and tell my kids, yeah, I work on this. So I'm really interested in brands that are actually trying to make a positive difference. And I know everyone has to make money and sell, but I think there's ways of doing that are going to be better in the future.
I know that we've got a few questions coming from the audience, but before I do that, I want to ask Todd about the 7-pound fish.
That's the most exciting thing.
Oh, I've caught so many bigger since then.
But there seems to be a story about this bass. Did you catch a little?
I feel bad for all my followers on Instagram, because it's nothing but fish shots and then the odd, birthday cake or something for one of my kids. But I caught my biggest bass was up on Bob Lake in Minden. I'll tell you right there. And the fish, I think, hit the lure before it landed in the water. It was just one of those lucky moments. I was so excited. I drove it back to shore to get a photo. And then I came back and I cast in the same spot and I caught a 4-pounder right afterwards. So there's my little fishing story. The ones
I had to ask. So this is a question for you both. Which creative award was your most favorite or most important?
I'm going to go for, I just love, and I actually probably didn't care if I'd ever won an award. The work that we did for Parkscapes, where we sort of created this new funding system for the Toronto School of Music for Regent Park. To me, that was the work that, most recent work that we'd done at BBDO, that even if it didn't get a single award, it was just nice to see what happened with that. Taylor Swift picked up some of the music, and that just did wonders for those kids. So, it's stuff like that, Yeah.
I would say it's always the first. So I think winning an award, a Lion this year with Broken Heart Love Affair for Kruger was huge to me, because it was the 5 of us and we'd only been open for 5 months when that was our first ad that we did together. And so that was super meaningful, because it just felt so good with this team. And then I would say, the first one that you win in the business, I remember working on YTV at Taxi, and then you're ruined for life because you keep chasing them. You're ruined.
Yeah. What excites you most about the future of creative communications, if anything? I could be just new opportunities, maybe,
Well, I think, go ahead.
You go ahead.
You go ahead.
I just think, I feel, and maybe it's because of where we are right now, I feel the pendulum swinging back. I feel like it swung away from creativity into sort of quick performance marketing. Let's get the quick sale. And I feel like creativity is swinging back. I think it's important I think COVID, like we said earlier, has helped shine a light on this, that brands need to be genuine, they need to be creative, and they need to find a way to connect out there. So I feel like there's going to be a real groundswell of awesome work coming out in the next decade.
Do you guys have any special techniques that you can share with our viewers about how you come up with your great ideas? I mean, do you go somewhere and sit on a park bench, or?
No, Lou Bars was asked something like this once, and David Lou Bars was our head at BBDO from New York, and he said, "There's no secret. It's like, it's hard work every single time. It's like sitting down with a blank page. It's like, it's still to this day, every brief terrifies me. It's like, I don't know how am I going to solve this? Kruger was.
You come up with an idea. You got another co-creative director to help you there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just leave it to.
I have one video that I'm not going to play quite yet, but the question I have is, after 50 years of being in this business, how long do you want to keep doing what you're doing?
Oh my God, Frank.
Well, I mean, there's a day when I got enough money, I don't have to do this anymore, or whatever it happens to be.
I actually don't know a timeline. I do know I love creativity. And so to answer the question about, I feel more excited than ever that creativity is going to be the answer for a lot of things moving forward. And being in the industry we're in, and I think you probably feel this way too, Frank, is that as creative thinkers, we can influence our clients to do the important things that need to be done for the future. And so I want to always do that. Like I always want to be able to use my creative thinking in order to influence.
Right. You feel the same way, Todd?
Well, yeah, this is the last year and a half has been the most fun I've had in a long time. And I thought I was having a good time, when we were winning, at BBDO and DDB and stuff like that. But this has been the most rewarding time of my career right now. And I don't know when I want that to end. As long as it's fun and it feels rewarding, let's
the final question that I have is after I play this last video.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. False advertising.
My question is, who drank all the beer?
I did.
You did?
Clearly.
Well, I want to thank you guys. This has been fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you. I hope it's going to be fun and entertaining to all of the NABS viewers. Of course, as you know, we're hopefully to continue to raise money for NABS. But this is very important for NABS as far as myself is concerned. And I know you as a co-chair at one point in time. So I thank you for your time and much continued success because you guys look like you're nailing it really good.
Thank you. It was so fun to see you. And thank you for being such an amazing supporter of NABS.
I'm hoping it's, we have a lot more. I think we have about another 20 people that we want to interview. And we're finding certain agencies that have been phoning us to be interviewed. And I say, is you're a NABS supporter? I might, but if you're not, we won't.
Yeah, good.
So have a great weekend and thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.